Good evening, everyone. We are back. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us again. I am your host, Dr. Paula Obie, and I'm glad that you came back to join us this week. This is our second pilot for the show that's named The Power of Transformation. And if you were with us last week, we had an awesome time. You gave us comments, and boy, were there a ton of nuggets being dropped. So I thought to myself, what do we need to do for next week? We're going to go back and revisit some of those nuggets. We're going to have what I call a heart to heart conversation. So go get your favorite beverage, tag your friends, call them up on the phone, and tell them that the Power of Transformation broadcast is on and they do not want to miss it. Go do it now, and we're going to be right back.
Pond 5. Pond 5.
Okay, we are back. And let me tell you something. I am still thinking about what was being said about moving forward in our journey. So, as I pondered, I came up with two words that's going to be the theme of our talk tonight. And those two words are examine ourselves. Yes, take a deep breath because I really don't know anybody who tells the truth who likes to examine themselves because sometimes we focus more on our weaknesses than on our strengths. Well, we're going to take this journey together and we're going to find some methods in order to really focus on the examination process as just being a tool for change. So take a deep breath. We're doing it together. And we're going to go to our scripture foundation, which is going to come from 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5 from the Message Bible. And I'm just going to read a portion of it. It says, test yourself to make sure that you are solid in the faith. Hello, Toronto, Canada. Thank you for joining us. Test yourself to make sure you're solid in the faith. Don't drift along taking everything for granted. Give yourself regular checkups. You need firsthand evidence, not mere hearsay, that Christ is in you. Test it out. Now, I'm going to say something else. You need to examine yourself because you need firsthand evidence that you're moving in the right direction, right? You remember last week, and if you don't remember, go back and look at the video. We talked about, our guest talked about not getting a promotion. I'm going to paraphrase the conversation. Maybe you've been there, maybe your friends have been there, but we talked about how it seemed that she watched other people get a job that she wanted. Watch them move into the office, watch them move their boxes and decorate. She talked about how it made her feel. And I was nodding my head, and you were probably nodding your head if you've ever been in a situation where you wanted a job, you wanted something, maybe it was a relationship, you wanted something, and it didn't happen quite the way you expected. That was the time, is the time for us to take a pause. Because we're going to be real about this thing. It does not feel good to be left out. But further in our show, we said these words. Well, maybe it wasn't the right time for me to get that promotion. Maybe there were some things that I needed to take care of. Maybe there were some things I needed to strengthen. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Maybe there were some things that needed to be removed from my life in order for me to get what was next, the next. And we said things like, maybe pride needed to be removed. Maybe. Well, maybe arrogance needed to be removed. That was my word. But maybe there were other things that kept people from seeing who you really were. Maybe they saw more of your weaknesses than your strengths. Maybe there were some people for which you had to just totally disconnect because you were maybe guilty by association. Does that happen? Oh, yes, all the time. So the timing and everything that you're trying to do, well, you have to give it a chance to play itself out. And while it's playing itself out, take a moment, take a piece of paper, sit down, write your strengths, write your weaknesses. Just write them down, make that column, and be honest, because the honesty is really important. And also, if you can find someone you can trust, the key word is trust, to just really have a conversation about your strengths and weaknesses, because it's a great conversation to have. Listen, we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. I know that there are some people who pretend that they don't, but they're just pretending. We all have them. It is a great place for growth and change when you make the list and then you sit and just talk to someone else about it, and you know that they have great integrity and they're going to give you feedback and you're not going to be upset. Well, I hope you're not going to be upset, but rather take that and start planning. You know, this time of year, to be honest, most of us have those year-end evaluations. And some of us get heart palpitations just thinking about that. What are they going to say? What is my boss going to say about me? And if you've not had a very good year, maybe you don't know what's going to be said. However, let's go back to what we said earlier. You might have some things that need to be worked on. So if you don't meet the expectations and you're given an opportunity to really sit down in a very objective environment, free environment, and give feedback and have a discussion, I believe that that can only help you. But I will say, in all honesty, if there's an integrity issue, you might have to just go back and have a plan B, because you may not be willing or open to accepting it the way you should. You just may not. The whole point is this: if it's not the time for you to receive it, and all you need to do is take a few classes, have a few conversations, have a better plan, get around some different people, change your vocabulary, well, then it's worth it. Why? Because you're worth it. You're worth going back and saying, I didn't get that particular job. I didn't get that particular assignment. However, now that I have the feedback in front of me, I know what to do. I have a game plan. So I'm going to test the process and find a way to make that weakness stronger. So how do you do that? I've already given you one tip, two tips actually. Get a piece of paper. Be honest. Examine ourselves. Just jot down your strengths. Start with the strengths. I like that. List as many of them as you can. And then Draw a line in the middle of the paper and then write your weaknesses. I think sometimes we have a tendency, and maybe it's just me, to have a long list of weaknesses rather than having a list of our strengths. I don't know why, but sometimes we do focus on the things that we can't do rather than the things that we can do well. Remember, God formed you in his image and his likeness. He knows who you are. He knows what gifts he's given you, and he's given you permission to use them. And it's okay for you to continue to evolve and get better. It's okay. So let's do that. Once, and this is just a time where I wasn't as confident about certain things, so it was perceived that I was weak. And sometimes people do that. But I remember when I was working as a project manager, and I went through the project. It was 6 weeks, worked fine. I had my coworker was working with me. The client was happy, and we were at the end of project conversation, and I was going in there with just such confidence, and I was just happy, 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 happy. Things had gone well. We met our numbers, blah, blah, blah. Everything's great. And then when the account manager had a one-on-one conversation with the project sponsor, and they discussed phase 2 of the project, the project sponsor said, I don't think we really want Miss Obie to come back. And the project man and the account manager and the boss said they were writing. And then when she said that, they just were frozen in time, like, what, really? And then she gave them some feedback that I will always remember. She said, we loved her. She was nice. Her personality was great. However, we were looking for, and she named several specific things they were looking for. Has anybody ever said that to you or said that to someone? We were looking for these things. And we didn't get those. We didn't meet that goal. So let's find me someone who has those traits, who has those strengths. And I'll sign off on the dotted line, and we'll just continue on phase 2. So when they brought me the feedback, y'all, I was going, really? But then I thought about it. What she said was true. Those were my weaknesses. I cannot tell you that I took it well, because that would not be a true statement. It really bothered me for a minute. I'm going, oh, wow. But I had to be grown up, and I had to think about it for a second. And I am so grateful for a great staff development director and a great boss. The staff development director sat down and had that conversation. Remember, I talked about hanging out with somebody with integrity? Well, she was the one that had integrity, and she said, let's just talk. And she looked at my resume and she said, well, what she's asking for, you really don't have a lot of experience in. So basically, she's just saying, we just need a little bit more, and you don't have any experience in that. But I want you to write this down, or I want you to press the record button. I guess we're already recording. My boss said these words. Okay. But isn't it something that she can learn? And the staff development director said, of course. She just needs the experience. She just needs to be trained in this area. And he said, I want you to find her the best classes you can find. I know it's in her. We just need to find a way to bring it out. And write this down in big letters, bold. She is worth it. So now I'm thinking, wow, I'm worth it. So the plan that maybe was meant to make me feel like I didn't have something I needed Now I'm feeling a lot better because he's saying I'm worth it and we're going to help her. And that class, I actually took about 2 classes. Those classes were so phenomenal. I heard things I had never heard before because we didn't come from a culture where people spoke in that way or they worked in that manner. We were different. Again, he was right. I became hungry for knowledge. I know I brought home about 10 books, and I also brought home a coach. She was one email away. And she said things that I still remember today. Golden nugget number 1: feel the fear and do it anyway. Susan H. Peters, actually. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Now, you want to also go to the scriptures. We didn't get fear from God. He's not giving us that spirit of fear, but the spirit of power. So this is where the affirmations have really worked in my life. With God, all things are possible, but I'm going to have to do the work. So I did. I went to the class. I came back and I read everything. I understood there was some definite aha moments. There were some things that I wasn't sure I would understand or be able to do, but you can't master everything right away. That's not what this is about. It was a plan. And in my mind, I was still hearing him say, she's worth it. She's worth it. So I'm telling you tonight, you're worth it. You're worth writing down and identifying your strengths and weaknesses. You're worth using it as a platform for growth. You are worth being everything that God created you to be. You just need a toolkit. You're like me. So let me tell you what happened. I came back, and within 30 days, because you have to prove yourself, I got another assignment. And I had so much energy in that assignment until we ended up getting more business. And all I needed was to embrace the process. I needed the truth. And I needed the coach. And I needed the class. And more than anything, I needed to believe in it enough to go and work it. Read the books, talk to people. And I tell you, when I reflect on those days, when I reflect on examining myself, it doesn't feel good at first, but I will tell you, it's one of the most powerful tools. This is in the Bible. So now you can actually sit down. If you're doing it now, that's fine. But definitely after this show, because we all need to sit down sometimes and relax. Take a breath and just take a look at that list. We all have golden opportunities, all of us, to improve. And there's nothing wrong with it. Now, you might question someone saying this about you or someone saying that. Well, my grandmother said that, honey, people will always talk about you as long as you're breathing. And sometimes they talk about people that are not. Your goal while you're here is to be the best person that God created you to be. And constantly re-examining yourself is not a problem. You have to get used to it. We have to get used to thinking about it being a plan for improvement. So I can hear someone saying to me, I just don't like those evaluations. They make me feel nervous. And they say things about me, and it's the way they say it. I totally get that. There are some folks but are a little harsh when they're talking about the weaknesses. How can you prepare yourself? Let's say your evaluation is next week. Let's say it's the week after. You know you better than anybody else. You know what you do on a daily basis, right? You know the assignments you've been asked to work on. So be armed with knowledge of this is what I've done. Maybe in this area I could have done things differently, but that's your scope. You need to have that. You need to feel good about putting all the passion into those areas. You need to feel good about it. I'm not saying that they're going to change their tone because they may not. I'm not saying that you're even going to agree with what's on the paper or what's being said because you may not. I'm saying you know you and you know what you bring to the table every single day, and so does God. So, what am I saying? Dr. Obie, what are you saying? You'll always have times when you're tested. You'll always have some things that you're going to have to strengthen. You'll always have opportunities that are going to enlighten you. Go back and look at that video from last week. Our guest said, after all of those things, after she acknowledged all of those things that maybe she didn't have that problem anymore. Now she's being trusted. And now she's in a great place. You see, there's a great light at the end of this tunnel for looking truthfully at who you are. You know, God says that we worship him in spirit and in truth. He's a truthful God. You might need to talk to him first. Get a good prayer life and say, you know, I'm not sure I'm being as truthful about things as I need to be. Talk to him and let him tell you. And then talk to some good friends and have some good friends and collaborate. Lessons learned are great things, and we can learn them every day. So I want to give you just a few tips, just a few bullets. I don't have any more stories that I want to tell because I'm telling you, there's been more than one time when I've been not given what I wanted. And I tell you, we'd be here all night talking about it because at times you're just not quite there. But once you sit back and have a realistic approach, you could be 98% there. Don't give up on the 2%. Okay? So, lessons learned from tonight. As I said earlier, don't be afraid. I'm changing my voice a little bit. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to look at yourself. Don't be afraid to examine yourself. Don't be afraid to create that list of strengths and weaknesses. Just don't be afraid. You may have to create the list and then flip it over for a while. I'm not even going to show that to anybody. That's okay. You can take those baby steps, but just realize that there's truth in it and also there's freedom in it. Lesson learned number 2. Use it as a springboard for your own growth and your own change in your professional life and your personal life, in every area of your life, especially your spiritual life. Use it as a place to start, not a place of finishing, but definitely a place to start. Number 3, talk to someone. You trust a person of integrity. Maybe you have a couple of people that give you feedback. Somebody who can speak into your life and help you. Maybe you need a life coach. Someone who really has enough experience to know how to speak with you. And know beyond a shadow of a doubt, and this may be the hardest thing ever, but know that beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are worth it. Let's go back to that conversation that my boss had. The director was like, she doesn't have any experience. She's just doing what she does. This is what she knows. Maybe this is all she knows. Forgot to tell you that part. And if this is where she is and this is where her strengths are, then let's just leave her there. Or maybe if she's given an opportunity to learn, maybe she'll change. She was just giving me both sides of the opportunity. She was just saying, this is her strength. It was my boss who said she's worth it. I'm wondering what would happen, though, if you affirmed that God says, I'm worth it. And if God says I'm worth it, oh, I'm worth it. So if it's a class, if it's a seminar, you can go on YouTube and learn anything these days. You're worth it. Your time is worth your time and your energy, and it will pay off. You must know that other people have had to walk these roads before you. And they've had to find some courage inside as well. Some of us have had to dig really deep to get there, but that's okay. That's why we're here. Victoria's face was beaming last week because she said he had to get rid of all of those things that weren't working. And then when I embrace those things that are working, next thing you know, I got what I wanted. I'm a living witness. When I started embracing the reality of what I could do well and what I couldn't do well, I just kept working on it. I'm still working on it because it definitely is going to be a work in progress. You won't master it in a day. I'm not even going to say you're going to master it in a day. You're going to master it in a day. You may need to go back and rework your list a little bit. But there are some things that are going to take your time and are going to take your energy. But guess what? You're worth it. I'm worth it. So go and get your sticky note and write down on the sticky note, I'm worth it. Place that sticky note where you can see it every single day when you wake up. Or wherever it's going to be, wherever you're going to spend the most of your time. Say that. Read it and then say it out loud. I was just thinking of a reality. I listened to another show on ALS broadcasting station, and the host would ask on those days, what are you saying to yourself? Place that comment, place it in the chat. And I'm thinking, I don't have anything to say. Oh, yes, you do. God created me in his image and in his likeness, and he gave me a purpose. And in order for me to get there, there are times if I have to do every 6-month evaluation, okay, bring it on. I have to do a yearly evaluation. That's okay too. Bring it on. If we can remove the stigma of it being something negative, it might be something that just helps us so much and transforms us so quickly until we'll say to ourselves, why did it take me so long to do that? Why did it take me so long to embrace that this is a good thing? Well, maybe you have to go back and just kind of erase, theoretically, some things that were said that maybe weren't so nice. Theoretically, say, I'm just going to not worry about those thoughts anymore. Today, on this day, is the day that I'm going to examine myself. And I am going to trust the process so that the power of transformation can do its work. That's all I have for you tonight. That's my heart to heart. And next time, we're going to move closer and have another great topic about the power of transformation. You want to stay tuned because July is Relationship Month, and we're going to have some great guests. So thank you tonight for joining me. We'll see you next week. Take care.